Hello and welcome to the Property Magic Podcast. In this episode, I have a real treat for you. One of my mastermind students and one of our pin hosts down in Southampton has done an absolutely incredible, life-changing purchase lease option deal. I'm not going to give the figures now. I don't want to steal his thunder, but I went all the way down south to interview him to talk all about this incredible deal and how he found it. And he found it in a very unusual way that most people wouldn't have thought would be a way to find property deals. So now you're going to gain so much from this interview. So enjoy the interview with Jon Woodman. So, Jon, before we get going, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? Tell them a little about what you did before property and then how you got into property.
So, yeah, Jon Woodman. What did I do before property? So I used to work in the defence sector. So I spent 21 years in the defence industry, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. And we'd always been interested in property, but always thought we needed a whole load of money to be able to do it. Turns out you don't. We started to talk to one of your previous students, Bronwyn, who lives in the same village as us. She gave us a copy of Property Magic, had a read of that, and Mastermind Accelerator, Mastermind 23, and here we are.
Excellent. So look, let's talk about this deal because this is a combination of loads of things.
Yep.
So first of all, this is an option deal.
Yep.
So you didn't need to put in a big deposit. You spent some money, we'll talk about that, but it wasn't a traditional 25% deposit.
No.
You didn't have to get a mortgage. The deal was done pretty quickly. That's the first thing. Secondly, you're using this as serviced accommodation, but with a bit of a twist as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And also it's a mega deal, as in £100,000 profit from one property, which sounds crazy. So let's dig into the details if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
So we can really inspire everyone watching this video. By the way, if you're watching this video, hit the like button, come and comment, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to make sure you're notified anytime we get a new video. So Jon, let's talk about how did you find this property first of all?
So a couple of years ago, I did a talk to some business studies students at the local college. Was asked to do it by a friend of ours who's a lecturer. And about 18 months later, one of those students who'd actually kept coming to PIN, came to our local PIN meeting after that. He approached me at the PIN meeting and said his grandparents had a property they were looking to dispose of. They were landlords, they were getting fed up with it, they were doing all the work. And he'd said to them, maybe there's a better option for them than, just selling it the traditional way through an agent who had actually massively overvalued it.
Right. And that often happens, doesn't it? Agents sometimes over-inflate what a property might be worth to hopefully attract that seller to sell it, and then they just disappoint because they can't sell it for that price.
Yeah, there's no way it would have sold for that price.
Right, okay. So, and why were they just retiring? Why do they want to get rid of it?
They were getting on. One of the flats was having a whole load of work done. They'd had to gut it and redo that. It was costing them money. They were doing a lot of the work themselves. Yeah. And they were just traditional tired landlord, for want of a better phrase.
So we'll look around the property side, but just to describe what exactly is it in this whole deal?
So we've got the one we're in now, which is a 4-bedroom house.
Yeah.
With a massive garden, huge plot in its own right.
Yeah.
And then attached to it next door, we have 2 2-bedroom flats, a 1-bedroom flat, and a studio. And then behind those, there's a dance studio as well.
So it's a big plot, a lot of building. Yeah. Okay, and what was the value that the agent had given it? What do you think realistic it was worth?
So the agent told them it was going to be worth 1.5 million. We did some digging, worked out what the typical values for 4-bed houses and flats and stuff around here were. We reckoned it was about 1.1 to 1.2 million.
Okay.
So he hugely overvalued it.
Okay.
And that included the commercial element of the dance school in that as well.
So it was on the market, not selling,
yeah.
And then you came up with this alternative solution.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you propose? How did you structure the option deal with them?
So the option deal was a traditional option deal. They like go on holidays. They got used to the regular income. And they'd already told the tenants they were planning on selling, so most of them had left. So they had a dwindling income for probably 4 or 5 months.
And also, if they sold the property, although they get a chunk of cash to put in the bank, they'd lose that income.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So they'd have no income. So we said, well, why don't we basically rent it off you for the next 5 years, and we pay them very similar amounts to what they were getting in terms of rent.
Right.
So that's about £4,000 a month.
But no hassle, no maintenance.
They've got no hassle, no maintenance. They they don't have anything to do with it. We just send them money every month, and everyone's happy. So they're happy. We've fully redecorated all of the flats, the house, carpeted, furnished it, everything. So
and if you think about it, if you were to, some people might be scared about paying a £4,000 commitment every single month to the owner, but if you bought this property, your mortgage would probably cost about that, maybe even a bit more. But also, let's talk about the rental side. So I know you're very big into serviced accommodation, which is short-term stays. And I think, over the last few years, I think the rates have come down a bit, occupancy levels have come down a bit. So you've pivoted and you've been using your SA in a different way. So explain to everyone how you've been using your serviced accommodation.
For exactly those reasons, we've done a lot of work over the last couple of years with our local councils around emergency accommodation. So rather than them putting you up in a hotel because you've turned up at the council, you've got nowhere to live, then we provide the alternative to that, because they can only put you in a hotel for a certain amount of time. And nearly all of our accommodation is now doing that. So for that, they're paying pretty much our Airbnb type nightly rates.
Okay. Which is probably still cheaper than putting someone into a hotel.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if it's a family, because if it's a family, then they need to provide 2 hotel rooms and stuff like that, and those costs rack up. And also, because of seasonality in hotel prices, the amount they can pay can vary from £50 a night to £200 a night, depending on what's going on in the area. We've worked with the councils to come up with a rate that works for us consistently throughout the year, and they're happy with that consistently for the year as well. So they can plan around that as well. So it's not just about it's a win-win for everyone, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what kind of income's coming in from this block and the 4 flats? So what are you actually achieving?
So across the 4-bedroom house and the flats, with the dance school, we get a little bit of money from the dance school every month. We take in about £16,500 a month.
Right, and then obviously you've got the £4,000 the owner.
Yeah.
Cost, you've got to pay the bills, council tax.
Bills and bits and pieces like that. So £2,500, £3,000 a month.
Okay, so you're netting about £9,000 a month?
£9,000 a month, yeah.
So £9,000 a month.
After all costs.
That's over 100,000 a year from one deal that came because you put yourself out there, you spoke for free about property to the business college, and one kid there who kind of stayed in touch. Grandparents wanted to get rid of property.
That's basically the size of it. Yeah.
And it's interesting, how old's the young adult, the kid?
Now he's 19, 20, he was 16 and a half, 17 at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So imagine a lot of investors, if a 17, 18-year-old was at a PIN meeting, they probably wouldn't speak to that person. No. Because they might think, what can they put? But guess what? That person's got parents, grandparents, etc. So it just shows when you're networking, you never know who you're speaking to. No. You can never judge anyone. You should be putting out the giver's gain about just connecting with people, trying to help people, because you never know where it's going to land.
Yeah, absolutely. People. Yeah, you never know what situation they're in, what they're up to. We've had all sorts of conversations over the years with people in all sorts of weird situations, and just trying to help them out. Do a deal that works for us, works for them, gets them out of a hole, helps them move on, whatever it happens to be.
It's very important to get that ethical win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. If anybody feels they've lost, then it's not the right deal.
No, absolutely.
It's got to be win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and so again, this is a property. Now, obviously, you've done some work here. You've put carpets in, you've put furniture, you've decorated. So there was some investment.
Yep.
So how much was that? Did you put into this deal?
So across all of 5 properties, with everything, it's about
the legal fees.
It's just shy of £50,000.
Okay, now that could have been someone else's money. Could have been borrowed money.
It was. It wasn't. No, it was our money. It could have been. It wasn't. It was our money.
And obviously, if you're getting 100,000 a year, you're getting your money back in 6 months.
Yeah.
So although it's maybe more to put in, because you've got such a big revenue, it kind of still really works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is I would have done this if this was my neck of the woods. I would have done this deal, which is great.
I don't blame you.
Well, no, fantastic. Yeah. So brilliant deal. Let's have a look around the property, because there's a few little things you've done which I think are really useful to help people maximise the property income as well. And this one obviously is used for contractors for an SA, so it's empty right now. Yeah. But normally contractors in here. And how many would you get into this property?
This one sleeps 7. If they want to put someone on the sofa bed, then they can. But it sleeps 7, 3 twin rooms in a single room.
And so you typically go into companies who've got people working on projects down here, or how are you filling that property typically?
Yeah, so there's some big projects around here at the minute. So there's quite a few contractors around. Often they'll book via booking.com for a week, and then we'll convert them to long term because,
Yeah.
or they'll get in touch direct. They can find us online, and that's when you get into some of these bigger companies and the bigger projects. When one team leaves,
the next one comes in.
The next one comes in. They'll pass.
And if you go direct, you're not then paying the large fees to the online travel agents.
Yeah.
We're trying
to
massively
avoid
increases your profit.
Absolutely, 15% difference.
Yeah, great, excellent. So I did say that was an incredible deal. I'm sure you would agree with that. If you're watching the podcast channel, just come and comment below. Would you like to be doing a deal like that? Like the video, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell icon, so whenever we bring out a brand new video, you're one of the first people to be notified. And you know what? If you want to learn more about how you can do incredible lease option deals like Jon, life-changing deals, one deal could completely change your life, you want to come and join me on some very special online training. And there's going to be a link below this video or in the show notes. Come and join me for some live online training where I'm going to share with you how you can grow your property portfolio without big 25% deposits and without having to get mortgages, just like Jon. So if you want to learn how to do that, click on the link and come and register for that live online training with me. As ever, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to make sure you get notified anytime we bring out a new video. I look forward to seeing you next week in the Property Magic Podcast.